Okay, right. So just really going to try and do this quite quickly because I just wanted to do a third sort of short video on the nature of projection. I just wanted to pick up on a couple of the issues that kind of came up for me from the other video. So the first one was the idea that I didn't actually go into sort of saying how it can be relevant to you and how you can utilize this when we look at the other person's behavior. So, sometimes it can be so difficult. You're in you're kind of wanting to go into a process because you've, had a difficult situation of someone, just kind of coming into your space, totally disrespecting it, completely trashing all your boundaries, and you're left thinking, what the just happened, and how does that have anything to do with me? So, you know, it can be difficult, like I said, to really fully see ourselves, particularly when the other is much more forceful, much more angry, much more difficult, either depressed or sad or just arrogant or whatever that might be. But they just seem so much sort of more extreme in their psychoses than we are, okay? But if we're finding ourselves around their energy, like I said, a significant percentage of the time, okay, then it's going to be a reflection of something inside you. Now, it's not going to be an exact reflection, and it might not even have anything to do with the way that you treat others, okay, or even that person. But what it can very, very much do is actually tell you how you treat yourself. And that is very much what the other person is showing you. They're just showing you, like I said, your vibration, your frequency, your feelings of powerlessness and worthlessness, anger, hatred, sadness, depression, whatever it is, okay? Which, if you weren't having an experience of those feelings, then even if it was happening and that person was having their freak out in front of you, you wouldn't be reduced to that level of being triggered. Okay, so it just wouldn't happen. So that's my point. So if you are in a situation where you really, really cannot see yourself, okay, and those very much will be the sort of the longer standing patterns, the familial patterns, the family viruses, the and certainly even if it's with somebody else, it will be reflecting on some level an aspect of that. And so, one of the things that we can do is we can just sit down with ourselves, get really, really quiet, and with our journal or our writing, and just start by looking at the other person and their behaviour. So you might say, you're an idiot, okay? And you could just do it one at a time, or you could just write down exactly what you think of that person. And then what I want you to do is turn it around and say, I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. It's like, why are you doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting myself through this? Because ultimately, the ultimate essence of everything is that you are free. So if you're in a situation that feels uncomfortable, then, this is where it does get uncomfortable to even talk about sometimes, because people are in situations that are incredibly uncomfortable and they feel like prisoners, they feel like slaves. You know, we can all get into a situation like that when we're in a relationship where we just feel like there's no freedom. Okay, that happens, and that is actually quite a natural, you know, thing to happen in relationships. And that's why I often say, and you know, maybe we'll sort of pick that up on another video, that quite often what people are experiencing in relationship isn't love. Okay, I know sometimes it feels like love when very much you're in the honeymoon period, but it's much more obsession, possession, and control. Okay, and those are fear aspects, not love, right? So quite often what we want, or what we get into in a relationship, is because we're in a state of lack. Okay, and so we attract somebody with a similar lack, right? And then they're going to show us where we're lacking, but we're going to think it's them, and we're going to be constantly pointing the finger and saying, look what you made me do, it's your fault. Okay, and you're free to do that. Okay, do it for as many decades as you like, right? Everyone will only ever do it for as long as they like. Okay, or you have the opportunity to just own everything that you witness if and when you're triggered by it. So you can own your trigger, the powerlessness, the worthlessness, the betrayal, the rejection, the abandonment, the guilt and the shame. Okay, we have to own those aspects of ourselves. And we have to do it more than just for us and for our relationships. Though, of course, that, of course, is our primary reason. But we also need to do it because we're living in a culture that is essentially driven by this deep, dark, shadowy state of unconsciousness. And it's a reflection, it's the macrocosm, microcosm. Okay, so we're the microcosm and the world is the macrocosm. And it is a direct reflection of each one of us to some degree. Okay, and that will be very much depend on where you're at in your spiritual ascension. So I can already see that this isn't going to be a short video, but you're going to sit down, you're going to look at, first of all, who is it? And is it a man or is it a woman that's giving you some difficulties? Because those are going to be representing your masculine side and your feminine side. You know, you can do this with friends, lovers, family, and even pets, okay? Because your pet is, particularly dogs, are an exact reflection, particularly if you've had them from a puppy. And we can say, what is it that person, that aspect of you is doing? What is it that you're seeing? This is also what I wanted to point out. What is it that you're seeing that you think they're doing? Because they're going to be thinking they're doing something entirely different, okay? And it's not their perception of the reality, and it's not their projection, okay? It's your projection and it's your perception. And so you have to own it. Really, I should get out my own journals because I've got, you know, masses of them, and I've been sort of owning it for a very long time. And I sometimes, you know, and all the things that I've ever said to you, you know, are all things that I've worked through myself, because ultimately we all have the same things. You know, like I said to you, there's only really 7, which I just reeled off: abandonment, rejection, powerlessness, worthlessness, betrayal, guilt and shame. Okay, and all negative feelings of lack come from those core wounds. Okay, and so you could say, you know, why are you abandoning me? You're abandoning me. You're leaving me. I feel rejected. I feel betrayed. And then have a look at, how have I abandoned myself? How has the masculine part of me abandoned the feminine part of me? Remember, your masculine side is very much the work, rationale, you know, just being in our left brain, basically. Okay. The right side is the creative. It's much more internal, you know, so the masculine's looking out all the time. The feminine is going in all the time. It's looking within. It's going into intuition. It's going into impulse. It's feeling rather than seeking and seeing. Okay, it's feeling from the inside. It's getting a sense. Okay, it's your sense perception, right? So how has your masculine abandoned your feminine? Are you in your creativity? Are you birthing it? Is it your work? Do you make money through your creativity? Are you allowing yourself to do that? Or have you abandoned yourself? Or are you ignoring yourself? Or are you angry with yourself? Is your masculine angry with your feminine? Because, you know, it feels like your feminine isn't safe to express itself. Okay, so I'm not going to really go too much down that road. I've already spoken for quite a significant amount of time already. You get the idea, okay? Look at the other person, write it down, put how am I doing this to myself, and think in terms of masculine and feminine, okay? And the other thing I wanted to pick up was I was saying, you know, that the earth is, you know, that nature, to a certain extent and to a certain degree, is a little bit dog eat dog, okay? You know, it's all about something having to die in order for something else to live. And that is the way that our lives have been for the past several thousands of years, okay? Since we've kind of gotten ourselves into this hierarchy of control. And that's a very uncomfortable place that we've been living for several thousand years, where we find ourselves, some people are slaves and some people are masters, okay? And it hasn't been so obvious as that in the last sort of several hundred years, because we, in a way, to kind of disguise it, they created a sort of class system. So there are people who are kind of quite comfortable, whereby there are people who are, you know, sort of living hand to mouth, and then there are the people who are very uncomfortable. Okay, so we don't have a direct split anymore. However, some people believe that that's what they're ushering in the corona times, okay, is this idea of a communist sort of state, whereby really you just have two classes, really, the upper class and the lower class, okay. However, what is so incredible about this time is that, anyway, we already knew it, but we're moving into an incredible period of time whereby we are going to be ascending all the hierarchies, essentially, okay? And we're going to be moving towards and creating paradise again. We have been there before. It's just that it's been so many, potentially hundreds of thousands of years ago, that most of us have forgotten. And that's one of the reasons why people say, wake up, okay? So we're coming into a time, an era, a new era, where it's going to be much more collaborative, much more communicative, much more cooperative, okay? And that's going to be an incredible, exciting time. I'll see you there. Oh, how do I stop this? Hello.